planting potatoes today, and one of the things I like with planting potatoes is if you got, rough weedy ground like this, it's all, I'll have to cut this multiflora back, and then I'll use the hoe to chop the base out of the ground. It'll get tossed over here on the downhill brush pile, building up that lower level. But the thing I really like with the potatoes on ground like this is you just dig the trench where the row of potatoes is going, flip the dirt up. Since I'm building it on the slope, I flip it onto the uphill side like that. That row's planted. This one's ready. This one I've got to go through and dig another layer out of. I dig the top sod off, and then I dig another scoop with the spade below that. It's not actually double dug. It's not 18 inches or whatever. It's 8 to 12 depending, because each scoop really doesn't take out that full depth. It's at an angle. But anyway, so you dig just the trench, and the area between it you don't have to work up. You just throw your clods over on it, and then as you hill the potatoes up, you bust those clods up into the potato row to hill them up, and pull those goldenrod roots out. And what I do with them is I either throw them to the pig, or I throw them to the chickens, or I throw them down in the settling pool where I'm building up for the new rice paddy, because they don't grow underwater. But mostly I try and feed them to the animals if I've got anything around to feed them to. But yeah, that works over the soil, so you don't have to till it all. We just work over the row where the potato is, and then you have to hill it anyway, so you just do that with the clods and weeds, and pull the weed roots out as you go with that. And then at the end of the season, when you dig those potatoes, when I dig those potatoes, because I'll be digging those potatoes, then the first row, I'll work it, I'll start at this downhill end here, and I'll turn it over towards the downhill end to build up this end. And then each row above that, I'll turn that soil over. I'll dig the potatoes by turning it over onto the row below until I get to the top row, which will be somewhere around here. And at that point, this section will all be pretty close to level. And depending on how this year's harvest goes, I'll either plant winter wheat or winter barley in here for the next winter's small grain crop for this area, and as the cover crop for the winter to hold this all and keep the soil nutrients in place, keep them from washing out with the winter rain. Next year, when I do this area, I'll probably interplant with crimson clover as well as putting the grain in. But that depends. Like if I go with the tall wheat, I'll use the crimson clover. If I go with the barley, I might seed in winter peas and just let them winter kill and not worry about it. But anyway, that's how I do potatoes. And it's a handy way of breaking new ground and also cleaning up neglected garden that's gone all to weeds. And the only tool you have to have is a shovel, and pretty much any shovel will do. I like to have the shovel, the big hoe, and a hard rake. And I use the hard rake. I actually use the style that's called a fire rake. Well, it's not a proper fire rake, because mine doesn't have the 18-inch long steel shank at the end, but it's not the bow rake, it's a solid piece. Anyway, I use that to knock down and rake all the stems from the weeds and the bits of sticks and debris, and I rake those all down to the downhill side to help check any erosion over the season and work on leveling up the little terrace here. So that's what I'm doing today.